So I just wanted to definitely, before I begin, thank you so much. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And what I'm presenting on today is it's an introduction to cultural intelligence and cultural competency in mentoring relationships. This is a very condensed and shortened version of a much larger conversation that we don't have time for today. But it is something that I do a lot of work around at United Way and nationally with the National Mentoring Partnership on cultural competence, on cultural intelligence, and just a lot of things that maybe we go through our day-to-day lives doing, but we don't even really realize that we're doing it. So I'm going to share my screen, and please let me know if you can all see it. Yes, okay. There's a couple of videos throughout as well that I thought were really important to share. So I'm going to go ahead and make this a little bit bigger for you. Actually, I don't want to do it that way. Let me do it this way. Okay. So as I mentioned, this training is called the Intro to Cultural Intelligence and Competency in Mentoring Relationships. It was created by myself with some contributions from people nationally that specialize in these topics. Whoops. So my question is, and feel free to put it in the chat box if you'd like, what does cultural intelligence or competency mean to you? You don't have to put it in the chat, no pressure, but if you want to, you can.
Or if you just want to shout it out too, you can do that.
All right, I'll start the way. So cultural competence is also known as intercultural competence. And it's a continuous and lifelong journey to increase people's skills in being proficient in intercultural and intracultural knowledge, which can improve the ability to work with people with different cultures. And somebody put something in the chat, so let's see what we have here.
Yeah, Carol DuBois did.
Can you read it for me, Kimberly?
Yes, I can. Carol stated that we have sensitivity to other cultures. That's what it means to her. And Judy says awareness of special characteristics in relationships.
Those are both great responses. So cultural intelligence is can be understood as the capability to relate, work effectively across cultures, bearing similarity to the term cultural agility. So it's basically what they just mentioned as well. It's just knowing how to work with others that may be different from us. So cultural intelligence starts with emotional intelligence. So as you'll see here, emotional intelligence includes our social skills, being able to empathize with other people, motivation, self-regulation, and also self-awareness. And emotional intelligence is being aware that all people have implicit biases. Every single person, we have them. We have them because of where we are born. We have them because of our upbringings. We have them because of our experiences in life. And every single person has different experiences. So what is implicit bias? So implicit bias it's the attitude or stereotypes that affect our understanding, actions, and decisions in an unconscious manner. So they're thoughts that we have without even wanting to think them. They pop up in our head and we're like, whoa, where did that come from? That's what, something happening unconsciously. So they encompass both favorable and unfavorable assessments. They're activated involuntarily without our awareness. They're not accessible through introspection. So you can't think back to yourself, why did I think that? And they also can lead to feelings and attitudes about other people based on their characteristics such as race, ethnicity, age, and appearance. They develop over a lifetime, beginning at a very early age, and that's through exposure to direct and indirect messages, so through our environments. So when we think about what a microaggression is, microaggressions are verbal, behavioral, or environmental slights that are the results of an individual's implicit bias. So they're often automatic or unintentional, and they occur on a daily basis, whether we realize it or not. Microaggressions communicate hostile, derogatory, or negative viewpoints. And the use of microaggressions, predominantly in our country, they perpetuate a worldview of like the white supremacy culture. And a stereotype is a widely held but oversimplified belief about a particular type of person or group. So it happens when someone groups individuals together based on some factor and makes a judgment about them without knowing them. So I can give you an example, a personal example of a stereotype. When I was younger, because of my age, I worked in banking and I had worked my way up the ladder very easily and early, not easily, should I say, early. And when people would say, I want to speak to the manager, and I would say, I'm the manager, they're like, you're not the manager. You're way too young to be a manager. So they would judge me based on my age and my appearance, that because of my age, I didn't have the knowledge or capability to manage a team. So they would say those things, not realizing that it's kind of hurtful, right? So what are some examples when we talk about cultures that could be an example of implicit bias or a microaggression? So here at the top, it says, what's a microaggression? Wow, you speak excellent English, or where are you from? Everybody can succeed if you just work hard enough. You're so articulate. You see up here in the right corner, it says, no, where are you really from? When someone says, oh, where are you from? Well, you don't look like you're from Florida, or you don't look Hispanic, or you don't look Asian, or, you don't speak Spanish. You don't act like a normal Black person. Those are all things that are literally said on a daily basis. And those are some things you may have heard yourself, or you may have heard other people say too. Another one that my own boss has experienced many times is, you're not like the other Black people I know, you speak so well. You speak English well for being a Mexican. So as you can see, these are things that people may say, not realizing the negative connotation that it really carries and how it can be hurtful to other people just based on their experiences in life. So does anybody have any questions before I move forward with this video? I see some things in the chat. Let me see if I can pull it up. Oh, those are the same ones from earlier. Okay. I know this topic can be very emotionally charged at times. So I definitely just want to make sure before I move forward that everybody is good.
Yeah, please don't hesitate, mentors. You have questions or anything, just pop in.
Absolutely.
Shout them out.
Chat, send me a message, whatever's good for you. So I'm going to play this video really quick. I believe it's about 2 minutes, and it talks about what do biases and implicit biases and microaggressions look like in education, work, and other opportunities.
Let's look at how to measure bias in ourselves and in others. Here's Dolly Chug from NYU.
We sent emails to real professors in real universities.
They contacted over 6,500 professors at random from 260 American universities.
We sent them an email that looked like it came from a real person asking for a meeting to learn more about the PhD program in that university. But we randomly assigned whether the fictional person sending that email had a name that sounded male or female and sounded white, Chinese, Hispanic, Indian, or Black. What we found that is, if you were a white male, you were far more likely to receive a response back than if you were in all those other categories put together as a group.
Some of this could be explicit racism, but it's far more likely that in many cases, these professors are just busy. They can't respond to every email they get. So they kind of let their subconscious decide for them. And that's where their biases come through. Research shows that our racial biases are often more about who we choose to help than who we don't. And we tend to help people who are similar to us. But you aren't 6,500 randomly selected professors. So how can you figure out where you might be making similar unconscious choices? First, there's a well-known test online you can take that can help show you biases you hold. Or
just do an audit. Whatever data you have, whether it's formal data in a computer or whether it's just data that's sort of anecdotal, look at the data For example, I met this fantastic executive in Silicon Valley. He takes great pride in being someone who actively tries to achieve gender balance on his teams, knowing that Silicon Valley and tech are skewed heavily male.
So he looked at his professional social network, his Twitter, his LinkedIn.
He found his network was far more skewed male than he expected. So there's a place where he could actively work to shift that, and that's what he's been doing since then.
So this is not a scientifically exact self-audit, but it can still be useful, and you can audit anything. So maybe start by taking that online test for bias. Maybe check out whose emails you're replying to. But you can also audit yourself for implicit bias by asking a friend to observe you in the real world. If you're a teacher, have people look at who you call on most in class, whatever your interactions are.
One practical thing that people should do is take stock of their friends. It would be very useful for people to actually make lists of people with whom they spend time.
Look for patterns. That's the audit. That's the assessment we can all do.
So any thoughts on that video? Oh my gosh.
Let's look at how to.
Any thoughts?
Well, I have a thought or something people to think about. At the end there, they, or the gentleman was talking about, taking the audit and finding out the friends you have in your life. And they had a list there. Am I correct on that?
Mm-hmm.
Black, white, so they're saying that that's something we should look at. And if we have friends that are more in a certain category, does that mean we have a bias?
Doesn't necessarily mean you have a bias, but the way that we learn how to be culturally intelligent is to have more people around us that don't necessarily look like us. People that are from different walks of life, people that don't have the same upbringing, maybe different career paths, which is one of the reasons why I love mentoring, is because you're given that opportunity to talk to somebody that has experiences completely different than your own, that may not look like you, maybe from a different neighborhood than you. And that's how we really can learn about each other and really make those large impacts in our society, because the only way to understand one another is to go out of our comfort zone or out of what we're used to, and expand on those conversations. So
absolutely. And I think that's important. We think about, or we hope that our mentors think about, how is your experience with your student and the relationship you have with your student, what has he or she taught you? What have you learned from them? And it could just be because, you're both so different in many ways. That's just the way people are. And so, when you go out and you have a relationship with a student, I'll explain and mention, it's important that you learn about who they are and their culture and their background and their values. Is that what you're talking about? And that's what we need to do.
absolutely. Yes. So I wanted to ask, how are you feeling after seeing these videos and these images? If you feel comfortable sharing, have you ever experienced anything similar? Are you aware of a time in your life where you may have voluntarily or involuntarily had implicit bias? You don't have to share. I just want you to think about it. If there's been a time where maybe you have said something that you realized after the fact, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Or maybe somebody said something to you before that it was very hurtful, but you realize it wasn't from an ill-intended place. So we are imperfect humans, and the only way to be better is to know better. And the only way that we can know better is by learning and just being open-minded to hearing different points of view. and realizing that everybody's experiences and their perceptions on life and other people is solely based on their experiences. So we can't, you know, we can't really get angry or judgmental. We have to realize that we have to meet people where they are. And the only way to make changes and cultural shifts is to have those uncomfortable conversations sometimes.
So I can share, actually, when I moved to North Carolina from Florida, we were driving around and this gentleman was an older gentleman in a car and he didn't even see us and he pulled out in front of us. And, then he waved and, we were like, okay, but then he pulled over. We were behind him and he pulled over and immediately I'm like, oh my gosh, don't stop, because of my, maybe thought processes, something's going to happen. So we slowed down and I undid my, rolled down my window and he said, I just want to say, I'm so sorry. I didn't even see you. But immediately I was thinking he had a gun and we were going to get shot. To me, that's kind of that immediate response from cultural or from background or from area, living in an area where you have to be a little more on cue or whatever you want to call it. So, that's just an experience I had not too long ago.
That's a good example. Definitely.
Profiling, that's the word I was thinking of.
Hi, good evening. This is Candace. I just wanted to give an example as well.
Hi, Candace.
Hi. I had a birthday party for my daughter a couple of months ago, and her friends, it's a very nice, diverse group. And one of the young ladies, we went to a hibachi restaurant, and she's actually Chinese. And the young boy sitting next to her, we were all looking at the menu before we were prepared to order. And then he asked her what was the miso soup. He asked her, what is miso soup? What's in miso soup? And she said, I don't know. And he says, you're like Asian. Of course you know. And, I reprimanded him very quickly and told him to apologize and said, that's not very nice. Because she's Asian, there's different ethnicities, in Asian and ethnicities. And she's not, because it's an Asian dish and we're in an Asian restaurant, you shouldn't automatically assume that she knows everything that's on the menu because her family's Asian. I was I guess I was caught off guard, and I was actually shocked because I thought that I was very surprised from his statement and the way it was very innocent enough. Like, I don't think he even realized that he had offended her.
Right.
But it just surprised me because his character, he would never intentionally offend anyone, but he did it so easily and so naturally, it just threw me off guard.
Yeah, and that's literally exactly what, that's exactly a perfect example, because we do these things so unconsciously and we think that it's harmless, right? But it's just those assumptions that we assume about people. Like, I have a last name that's Spanish. I'm not Spanish. I just married someone who's Spanish. So I can't speak Spanish, my husband's Colombian and he has tattoos and people look at him and think he's, gonna beat them up and fight them, and he's not. Like, he's a really nice guy. No, it's just we have to think about, like, we're programmed a certain way to think certain things about people based on their appearance, especially with our young people. Like, my son is 15, he's in high school, and the things that he's learning, I feel out of the loop because, they use verbiage and lingo and terms and dress a certain way. And I'm just like, what is going on? But we have to realize too, we were young at one point and our parents didn't understand, our older, generations didn't understand what we were doing either. Right. So we just keep having these life cycles. So thank you for sharing that example.
And I also have another statement to say.
Okay.
That in addition to that, one thing that with all of the different incidents and trials that are going on now, like with, Aubrey and everything further south, and when different racial things come up, and I have 2 teenage children, and they've, Mom, how could someone do this? And I told them, I said, what's bad is that a lot of people are prejudiced or racist, and they don't even know it. you know, unfortunately, some of these things are taught from when they're young and when they're children and in the home. And it's not given a label, it's not given a title. It's just what they're innocently taught. And they grow up thinking that it's okay.
Absolutely. Very,
You
very
know,
true. And that's why I say we have to, you know, we have to show other people grace, and we have to give people the same treatment that we would want to be treated. That's how I go through life, because I grew up in Tennessee and I grew up in a town that was still pretty much segregated. And I think Kimberly's heard this story. My family was pretty much the only white family that hung out on the Black side of town. I was raised by a Black woman. And because of that, I myself and my siblings experienced a lot of hate. But when I, you know, as I got older, I realized those kids that were so hateful, that's what they're being taught at home. And they don't know any different than that. Does that make it okay? Absolutely not. But the only way that we can learn as a society and overcome and grow from those things is if we just keep having these conversations, and we keep just trying to
teach people one person at a time.
Exactly. So on this next slide here, how can we be more aware of these in our mentoring relationships? So again, awareness starts with educating ourselves and being empathic to others' cultural beliefs and differences. Florida's public education system identifies over 200 first languages other than English spoken in the homes of students. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
And in fact, the school district of Palm Beach County is the 10th largest in the entire country. And it's the 5th largest in the state of Florida, serving more than 197,000 students who speak 146 languages and dialects, representing more than 190 different countries, just here in Palm Beach County alone. So the opportunities for us to learn are endless, right? We can learn so much from one another. So what better opportunity to learn than through mentoring, which all of you so graciously give your time each week to our youth. So be aware, you know, that you can learn from in a giving, leading role in educating you about anything. It builds their sense of well-being, confidence, and their leadership skills. So it's important, you know, as the mentor, which I'm sure you probably all do, you're probably really great listeners, because these young people, they want to have somebody hear them out and talk to them, and just hear what they're going through. And we can learn so much through that. So building cultural humility. The most important way to develop cultural humility is to be honest with your mentee about what you know and what you don't know, and to be authentically interested in learning more about their culture, and if and when they want to share. Leave your preconceptions, judgments, and beliefs at the door, and be open to learning from your mentee, because mentees do thrive when they teach and lead. And when you want to learn about their culture, you give mentees the opportunity to teach and lead you. You can also learn about the culture of your mentees. It's an absolute must for every mentor. So you don't have to just come out and say, hey, what are your culture's beliefs, or what are your values, or what are your culture's shared experiences? What are their rules? What is your culture proud of? But if you just have conversations, you'll hear these things come through. Sorry, I'm moving the chat box around and my video around. So every time I click, I have to move it. So this is a story that we did recently with WPBF Channel 25, and I thought this story was so impactful because I've seen their pictures and the reports that I received, but when I went to the interview with the news, I was just kind of blown away by what they were saying, and it really talks about how much they learn from each other as a mentor and mentee. And they're actually at one of the local agencies here called Path to College. So I'm going to play this video for you.
Growing up, 18-year-old Charlie Alexis was juggling his busy life in Lake Worth.
I had 2 jobs. So one job, I had to wake up every morning at 1 a.m. to go and deliver newspapers. And then I'd get home about around 5, 6 a.m. And that was a 7 days a week job. So I worked that every day. And then I also worked at Little Caesars.
Charlie, who was raised by his single mother, was always working to provide for his family. He is one of 6 siblings, so by nature, he's used to supporting others. But when the pandemic hit, Charlie found himself needing that support.
Schooling was easier in person, but when it had to become online, it got tough, as in procrastination, not wanting to get up to go to school, not seeing your friends every day. Because believe it or not, your friend.
Bueno, o sea,
In the beginning.
Lost, but with the help of his mentor, Bill Marinette, who's more like a father to Charlie, he was able to successfully get through high school and earn a full ride to Lynn University in Boca Raton. The two are no doubt different, but it's their differences changing their outlook on life.
When I would go outside, if I would see a Caucasian or a white person, I would just tend to fade away, like want to take a 1 or 2 steps back. But now knowing not everybody's racist, with Bill, I learned that I can approach you.
Charlie, who I respect, has another perspective, right? The Black person's perspective in this world, where he's afraid to walk down the street late at night, even though he just came back from basketball practice, right? He's afraid he's in a store shoplifting because he's got a bag, you know, he's going to be arrested for shoplifting. And he's explained events. I'd be afraid too.
The mentoring program called Path to College is designed to help low-income, high-achieving students like Charlie get into college. But Bill managed to help him in so many other ways. He gave Charlie a head start on his career path of becoming a pilot by giving him his first small plane ride. He also challenged him in a classroom and taught him how to play golf. The two say this program helped them in ways they would have never imagined.
So as you can see, their relationship, just by having conversations, you know, about their experiences, Bill was able to understand things about Charlie and Charlie's life and his culture and race that he would have never understood. And, you know, Charlie, very similar experience. There's a lot of things when he went into this mentoring relationship, he had a lot of preconceived notions about Bill as well. Just based on his life experiences, but through conversation, they're really able to open up and understand each other. So it's good to, you know, try to relate to your mentee. You must be clear that you can't know exactly everything that your mentee has gone through, even if you have had similar experiences. The work is to tap into similar experiences that you've had, times when you had to make a change, maybe weren't accepted. Experienced setbacks, were left out, feared for your safety or well-being, or any other experiences that were similar to those that your mentee may be facing. You know, share what you're comfortable sharing, being clear that, you know, you can't experience the exact same thing and you may not feel the exact same feelings, but you can at least share and, you know, try to understand the similarities and just respect the differences. So dealing with labels and stereotypes is unavoidable. Again, everybody has them. Probably everybody has used them at some point. Sometimes they're negative, sometimes they're positive. Just be aware of them and how they influence us. You know, values influence the decisions a person makes in his or her life regarding work, education, relationships. And we really learn our values through our interactions with cultural institutions, which could be our family, the media, religion, peer groups, the government. And a mentor's role is not to change your mentee's values, but rather help young people to better articulate what their values actually are, while also modeling, putting their values into action, teaching them, you know, how do you use these values in your life every day? And mentoring is not about fixing or saving anybody. I'm a fixer. I like to fix and help everybody, but I've learned along my life I can't do that because I can't pour from an empty cup, and that's not my job to fix everybody. So your primary responsibility as a mentor is to just honor the inherent worth that each child brings into our world and respect their cultural background. Somebody's got. Okay. And a difference in culture and in values isn't something that needs to be fixed. Both a mentor and mentee must work toward understanding that to build a strong relationship. So stay in the relationship, even when it can get challenging at times. We know that mentoring is not always easy. Sometimes you do have those difficult moments where maybe your mentee isn't as responsive. Maybe they're not as enthusiastic at first. Maybe they're shy. Maybe you're shy. Maybe you're feeling, overwhelmed with work or your own kids or whatever other responsibilities. But building a strong relationship takes time and effort, and the process looks different for everyone. So just be humble. You don't know, nor will you ever know everything about your mentee's life, and that's completely okay. You don't have to over-identify with them. And your mentee realizes that you're never going to know everything they're experiencing or feeling. And they might actually feel invalidated by your insistence to truly try to understand them, because we know that with teenagers, we adults know nothing. So mentoring is a process and not a destination. Enjoy the process, seek support from your program staff when needed. You're definitely sure to make a difference in the life of a young person, and you will probably experience more benefits than you can imagine. And then for more mentoring tips, there's actually a link here, and I have sent this to Kimberly, and she can send it out to you if you want, so you can have the videos or any of the other stats in here. And on this last page, there's we're adding more to this, but because two of the predominant cultures that we see in mentoring relationships here in Palm Beach County that are outside of the typical American culture is in South Florida, the Haitian culture, and then Hispanic culture. So these are some cultural values and norms that are very common with these two groups of people. And they're very helpful with, understanding what might be normal to us may not be normal to another culture, and vice versa. So that is it. That concludes my presentation with you all. So if anybody have any questions or feedback, feel free to put it in the chat or unmute yourself.
That was excellent, Allison. I mean, I know there's so much more to this, and you really had to compact it, but you did a really good job zoning in on what was important. So does anyone have any comments? So Carol says, can we get the first few slides regarding emotional intelligence and the cultural bias information? I'm going to speak with Michelle. I am recording this, and of course, every mentor needs to hear this, and I want to share this with everyone. Allison, if that's okay with you. And we'll get it out to you. So yes, Carol, you will have everything. And then Nancy says, excellent presentation. Thank you. Anyone else have any comments, experiences that you want to share?
Kimberly, I just wanted to ask for the references for the cultural competency. Is that in the link that she just said that you might send out to us? How do we get communicating with Hispanics, Latino, and the Haitian cultural values and norms? Where do we find that?
I can send it out. I'll send a link to Kimberly if you want, with everything broken out, and then I'll also just attach the PowerPoint as well, and you can use it that way too.
Yeah, send that to me, and then I can include that in the email. Janice Span says, excellent, very informative. And then Judy K, I would like to learn more about the Haitian culture. So that link will hopefully help you, Judy. Once I get that, I will send it to you. Okay. Anyone else? Yes.
I'm interested in that as well, both communicating with the Hispanics and the Haitian cultural values.
Okay, Millie, no problem.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I'll get this out to everyone. Anyone else would like to have any questions or share? Okay. Well, thank you so much. This was very good. And hopefully you're going to get to do this more often. This is the first group you shared this with, Allison?
Yes, you are my first group. So thank you for not being super hard on me. I appreciate it. I lead lots of other trainings at work and in college, but nothing to mentors just yet. I have a partner who's the training coordinator, so he couldn't be here today. So I
did a great job. You really did. You need to do this more often.
Yeah. Let me know.
Fantastic. Excellent
We
job.
actually,
Thank
in
you.
case you're interested, I'll share it too. Kimberly, you might have seen this. We actually recently got certified as youth mental health first aid instructors. So we always think about like first aid when somebody breaks an arm and there's a crisis, what do we do? Or CPR. But what do we do when somebody's having a mental health crisis? Like, how do we respond to them in a safe manner that keeps us safe and them safe? So we actually will be teaching that soon. It's
Oh,
kind of a
wow.
long training. It's about 8 hours.
8
but
hours, yes.
yeah.
Yeah, I
we
went through it.
split
It's
it up.
very compelling. It really
Yeah.
is. It's a great training.
So be on the lookout, Kimberly. That'll be open up to mentors, teachers, police
wonderful.
officers, anybody that serves youth. It'll be open to. So
Wow.
yeah.
We have a request from one of our mentors. Do you have a contact number or contact information if anybody wants to reach out to you?
Yes, I will put my email in the chat box and my phone number. Let's see here. I will be honest, email is the best way to reach me because I'm in and out of a lot of meetings throughout the day, and that's the quickest way for me to
Yes,
don't feel like you have to only
I
email
can
me.
relate.
Yeah.
Email's the best.
And we're
Could
in and
you
out of the
please-
office still with COVID. We're in the office, we're out of the office, we're in the office. So
Did someone have something to share?
I was just going to ask Ally if she could please put up her email address again.
oh yes,
Thank you. I'm
welcome.
slower than you are.
that's okay. And there's actually
I think she froze.
trainings. There's all kinds of topics and trainings. And so, if you're
Thank you.
interested in learning more, there's other trainings that, we'll send out as well about this
Awesome.
topic.
Well, you have a lot of great compliments here in the chat box. And Mr. Rhodes, your hand is raised. Would you like to say something, Mr. Rhodes?
Yes, the workshop she was mentioning that they was going to come out with. Would you give us information on that?
The mental health?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. We're
It
working on
sounds-
some dates. So yeah.
Yeah, as soon as they have that set in stone, I'm sure they're going to get that out to the affiliates and we'll send it out to you.
It sounds interesting. Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
it's very good. I took the course a few years ago. It's excellent.
It is.
So, all right.
Thank
Mentors,
you.
Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. And I look forward. Now, Coffee Talk is in December, so you don't want to miss. Michelle, what's the topic for Coffee Talk?
Projecting healthy minds,
All right, and that
All
is
right.
going to be December
16th.
16th at 8 a.m. and 12 noon.
Well, yep. Yep,
Right?
we're gonna do 2 times, yes, so that, we can hit everybody and maybe at lunchtime, some people can catch us, so.
All right, so grab your coffee, your tea, your water, whatever it is, and join us on December 16th, either at 8 a.m. or 12 noon. And we will have that information in the newsletter going out on December 2nd, right?
Yep.
December 2nd.
You got it, yep.
Available on Zoom?
Yes,
Okay.
Zoom. Yep. All right, everyone. Thanks again, Allison.
welcome.
Thank you,
Thanks a
Allison.
lot.
Awesome job.
Good to see
Bye.
all of you. Thank
Bye,
you.
Yes, great job. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Kimberly.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Good night.
Bye.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Bye.
Ladies
Thank
and
you.
gentlemen, thank you.
I give up. I give up.
Night, everyone.
Night.
Bye.
Bye.